15, I decided to persuade my father of taking me to La Guajira, an arid northern Colombian department. Probably the moment I remember most clearly was the convoy of 3 Toyota's Land Cruisers which stopped in front of our car one night. I watched how grotesque men jumped off these heavily armored cars with AK-47s, shotguns, and all kinds of pistols. At that moment, we realized that we were in the middle of the desert, completely alone, and we have just been stopped by a FARC convoy. 2 of these men stood in front of our car with guns in their hands, while the rest of the convoy proceeded towards the village. The worst part wasn't the initial shock of witnessing these men get out of their cars with their artillery, but the sense of insecurity and confusion we all felt. For half an hour, there was absolute silence. For half an hour, we didn't know what was going on. For half an hour, we had 2 AK-47s pointed at our heads. Although these men eventually left the scene, this is still the most vivid memory I have of those vacations. But why does this happen? Why does fear, not violence, but fear, forges more vivid memories? Now, by living in Colombia, we are no strangers to living in fear. Consequently, we have grown in an environment with little to no hope, ignoring the fact that hope is actually our best weapon against terrorism. Psychologically, humans resort to fear when they feel threatened. Therefore, panic arises quickly when there's a terrorist attack. As a matter of fact, the psychological impact of fear-provoking acts generates a collective defense mechanism, which causes individuals to resort to alienation and fear. Now, the destabilizing psychological nature of terrorism's impact have been widely studied in recent years, and they're pretty well summed up by Lauren Mellin, a professor in health psychology, after conducting a series of studies over the French citizens after the Paris attacks of 2015. In her study, Mellin highlights the diminutive likelihood of being killed in a terrorist attack, which for Americans, it's 1 in 20 million. It is true that this statistic changes from country to country, but for most countries, even for some that are considered to be violent, like Colombia, the probability is still low. So why, if it's rational not to fear terrorism, we fear it? At this interrogation, Mellin has a clear and rather simple answer: EBT, emotional brain training. According to Mellin, when you witness people storming out of an attacked building, when you see a row of dead bodies lying on the street, especially if these events occur in your own country, your brain triggers a defense mechanism of fight or flight inspired by fear. Moreover, although these acts don't affect you or your family directly, and they probably never will, the brain learns from witnessing violence and saves all of those gruesome memories, generating on their behalf also all sorts of emotional responses. At this moment, many individuals stop being logical, and inspired by stress and paranoia, the 1 in 20 million probability suddenly becomes eat or be eaten. After this, hope is very much forgotten. Terrorism is the result of a wide range of segregations within our society, with rage, insecurity, and fear. Division weakens the fighting front against this threat, and what unites us and makes us stronger is hope. Many studies have concluded that while militarism and violence reduce the continuity or efficiency of the attacks, it cannot eradicate its causes. Yet, many countries lack a peaceful approach to terrorism when it has been proven wildly successful. For example, in 2012, the Colombian government, along with a consultative group led by José Sokolov, generated a communication strategy to demobilize as many guerrillas as possible, something that guns can never achieve. As a strategy, they used a variety of propaganda focused on talking to the human and not the soldier. The group covered 9 huge trees in the jungle at strategic places with Christmas lights, and beside them a sign that says, "If Christmas can come to the jungle, you can come home. Demobilize." As it turns out, Colombians became extremely confident and attached to these strategies, and many people in small towns deep in the forest gave away their toys, jewelry, or wrote notes and placed them inside fluorescent capsules and thrown in the rivers for the guerrillas to retreat. This caused one demobilization every 6 hours. All of this leaves us with a reflection. The military can shoot as many bullets aiming at the FARC as humanly possible, but that only gives the high commanders of the guerrilla proof that the government doesn't care about the population in distant regions where poverty is all there is. Hate will make more and more people enlist as an insurgent. The world does not need to see how many casualties the military managed to achieve in a confrontation with the FARC. The world needs to see stories on how hope managed to win over 17,000 guerrillas. The world needs to hear that hope wins. Many may question one's ability for solving terrorism, since it's widely believed that governments are the only organizations which, throughout their wealth and ability to generate collective action, can defeat terror. As a matter of fact, many believe that the key to eliminating potential terrorists is by creating a new security checkups on airports, imposing sanctions on foreign countries, or neutralizing our drug and warlords. Still, solving this issue can also depend wildly on us. How can a simple individual lower the impact of terrorism? The answer to this is hope. Hope is usually regarded from a psychological standpoint as a game changer. Thus, if we take the responsibility of forming a new generation into having hope in humanity, we will be effectively overcoming the psychological consequences of terrorism while giving us greater autonomy and consciousness, while participating in our political apparatus in order to formulate responsible and well-thought government policies that fight terrorism directly. Indeed, the collective fear generated by violence and terrorism has acute implications over the development of our communities. Still, there's a way for individuals to fight this intricate phenomenon from within themselves. The first step is to proliferate hope throughout the world. People need to learn how to react to violence and fear with objectivity and hope, thus reconciliating the trauma generated by the massive attacks and constant threats. It's only after the trauma is reconciled that we could effectively aim at uniting and generating the policies that will give us the responsibility to tackle this disgraceful issue. So remember, despite how powerless we might feel against terrorism, we as individuals do have power. We have hope. Thank you.